Now, when you watch professional golfers on TV, it seems like they're holding putts every time from all over the place. But what in actual fact is the reality of how often players of different abilities hold putts, especially from within that sort of 10-foot range? In this video, I'm going to be touching on the different handicap ranges and what your expectations should be in terms of holding out from different distances. And spoiler alert, you're probably not as bad at putting as you thought you were. All the data that I'm going to present in this video comes courtesy of Arccos, one of the leaders when it comes to performance tracking and analysis. And if you're interested in getting a set of their smart sensors, I've put some handy links in the description below where you can get your hands on those for the best price in your area, and use the code GOLFMONTHLY to get 15% off. Right, we're here at the incredible Elsa course at Trump Turnberry. Let's dive into those different distances and also those different handicap ranges to see how you compare. Right, so we're going to start with inside 2 feet. Now, for most golfers, most players, this would be inside the circle of friendship. You'd have a gimme. For a lot of players, it would be deemed as simply a tap-in. But actually, if you look a bit more closely at the Arccos data, it's interesting to see that every ability of golfer misses putts from this distance. Even scratch golfers are not holding this putt every single time. The data suggests that 97% of the time scratch golfers are holding this. Goes down to, you see, 5 handicap, 95%. And arguably the most interesting is at the 10 handicap range from inside 2 foot, 10 handicap golfers are making this length of putt 91% of the time. So basically every 10 times 10 handicapper has a 2 foot putt, they're going to be missing it 1 out of 10 times, which is, I think, relatively high. It's interesting, you know, if you're playing in a match against a 10 handicapper and you'd be thinking about giving them a putt from this distance, maybe you want to think again, especially if the putt's got a bit more break on it. That will obviously add a level of difficulty. So where you might think it's a gimme or a tap-in, definitely reconsider, because every ability of golfer does miss this putt from time to time. Hopefully, I'm not going to be one of those right now. Would you believe it? There you go. Everyone misses them. Right, so now we've moved back slightly into this 3 to 5 foot range. And as you would expect, you can see the percentages in terms of the make percentages for the different handicap abilities does drop quite significantly. So for a scratch golfer, it goes right down to 69%. So just under 3/4 of the time, scratch golfers are making this length of putt. You see it just drop down considerably again for a 5 index golfer, makes 59%, a 10 index golfer makes 55% of this length of putt, 15 index makes 47%, and a 20 index makes 45%. So a couple of interesting things here. If you look at the PGA Tour average from this distance, it's just shy of 97%. So there's quite a big difference between the best players in the world and the best amateur players in the world in terms of that difference between a scratch golfer and a PGA Tour player. Definitely if you're a scratch golfer or a single figure golfer, this is the distance where you can really make up some ground. And the other thing that's interesting about this particular distance is that towards the latter part of it, you look at those make percentages, this is around about the distance where 10 handicap golfers, 15 handicap golfers are missing as many as they're making. So it's that really critical distance if you want to try to improve your game and you're in that handicap bracket, practicing from within this 3 to 5 foot range, especially towards the latter part of that distance, so towards that 4 and 5 foot range. This is a really crucial length of putt to practice. If you can improve your putting consistency from this range, you're going to make really good inroads on your scores and hopefully lower your handicap. Let's see if I can be better from this distance than I was at 2 feet. Phew, that's a relief. So some food for thought there in terms of the make percentages from this 3 to 5 foot range. Clearly it's an area to work on for the majority of golfers, and if you make some strides in this area, you should definitely see your scores come down. So now we move on to the 6 to 9 foot range, and I have to say I was very surprised by the make percentages from the Arccos data. I would consider anything within this 6 to 9 foot range as a relatively decent chance if it's for birdie or saving par. I'd like to think that, you know, I'd maybe hole slightly more of these than I would miss. But actually, if you look at the Arccos data, it tells us that every ability of golfer misses more putts from this range than they do make. So scratch golfer 40%, 5 handicap index 34%, 10 handicap 33%, so not a big drop from a 5 to 10 handicap there. 15 handicap 29%, and a 20 handicap 26%. So actually, if you look at the difference between a scratch golfer and a 20 handicap index, there's not much that disparity between the make percentages, around about 11%. So clearly the range is a lot tighter from this distance. Ability seems to have less of an impact from 6 to 9 foot range. A couple of other interesting observations about this sort of distance. So if you look at the PGA Tour average from this distance, it's around about 53% from 8 feet and 47% from 9 feet. So the sort of 50-50 make percentage is actually around about 8.5 feet for tour players. So even from 9 foot, tour players are missing more putts than they're making. And also from this particular distance, around the 7 foot mark, so slightly the closer end of this spectrum, is around that make 50-50 make percentage for a 5 index golfer. So again, that's a really critical distance to focus on in your practice. And I think generally speaking, yeah, this is a range of putts where you can really keep the momentum of your round going if you're holing a lot of putts from 6 to 9 feet, especially in the 6 to 7 foot range. You're going to make some really big inroads on your scores if you can become more prolific from this area. So I've got a putt here from about 7 feet. Let's see if I can talk the talk and roll this one in. Lovely. There we go. Obviously, clearly a lot better from mid-range than I am short-range. So 6 to 9 feet, some really interesting data there, but I think if you've got expectations around making more putts than you miss from this distance, think again, because actually every ability of golfer is missing more than they make from this range. Right, so now we've moved a little bit further away. This tee peg is 10 foot away from the hole, and actually the difference in ability level, make percentage from 10 foot and out is remarkably close, even closer than it was from 6 to 9 feet. So even from this distance, the percentages are very tight. Actually, if you move a little bit further away from the hole, so 25 feet to 39 feet, the difference between all the handicap ranges that we've talked about from scratch all the way up to 20 handicap is only 1%. So very little difference there between your make percentages from that slightly longer distance. Obviously, we know from further away from the hole, we know that higher handicap index golfers are going to be 3-putting a little bit more frequently than lower handicap golfers. But in this video, we're only really talking about make percentages. And it's interesting to note that from this sort of distance, 10 foot and out, the difference between those ability levels is negligible. But if you look at the stats from the PGA Tour, the best player on tour from outside 25 feet only makes 10% of putts. That was Wyndham Clark in the season just gone. And the tour average from outside 25 feet in terms of make percentage is 5.5%. So clearly even tour players are not banging in those 25 footers all that often. And clearly you can't be expected, regardless of your ability, to make an awful lot of putts from out 10 feet and longer. So clearly where the gains are to be had is from shorter range. That's where you can make really big progress versus your sort of competitive set. This ball in particular is 10 foot away. Let's see if I can buck the trend of make percentages and knock this one in. That looks tasty. Oh my God, it's broken loads. Clearly I'm among my peers in missing putts from 10 foot as a 3 handicap index golfer. So yeah, don't be expected to be making putts from 10 foot and out. Your best strategy is to make sure you get the pace right and try and eliminate those 3 putts, especially if you're in those sort of higher handicap brackets, 15 and 20. That's where the 3 putt percentages really rise, and you could definitely make some progress on your scores in terms of keeping those 3 putts off your card from 10 foot and out. So hopefully you found this data useful in terms of seeing where you fit in among those make percentages from different distances, and clearly the beauty of it is it really shows you where you can make big inroads on your handicap level if you're looking to improve and break into the next handicap level. Seeing where those 50-50 splits are in terms of make and miss percentages is really crucial, and for most golfers watching this video, it's probably closer to the hole than you thought it was before you started watching this video. So hopefully that sort of managed your expectations a bit and maybe helped you realise that you're not as bad at putting as you thought you were, and that the biggest amount of progress could definitely be made from quite close to the hole. We saw the disparity between putts from outside 10 foot was very close indeed, regardless of the handicap level. So if you're looking to improve your putting, clearly from shorter range is the way to really hone in your practice and spend a lot of time practicing your putts from those sorts of different distances inside 9 feet. The USGA say that the average golfer takes around 40 putts per round, which is just over 2 per hole. So clearly another way to improve your scores is to eliminate the number of 3 putts you have on any given hole, and improving your putting from short range is going to really help contribute to reducing the number of 3 putts. If you are interested in improving your putting from short range, do check out the Golf Monthly website, because there's an incredible array of tips, drills and practice routines that you can try that would definitely help your consistency from short range. And don't forget, if you've enjoyed any of the data in this video and you want to get hold of a set of Arccos Smart Sensors for yourself to get your own data on your own game, do click the link in the description to get your hands on those for the best price in your area. And don't forget to use the code GolfMonthly at checkout to get 15% off. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and the one takeaway I'd want you to have from watching this video is that you're probably not as bad at putting as you thought you were. But that's all from me here from the Elsa course at the beautiful Trump Turnberry. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.